On January 2023, streamer Atriot gets caught with a tab on his browser. The content on the tab has paywall explicit deepfakes of his female peers. October 23rd, popular streamer Amouranth releases a beer fermented with her vaginal yeast. October 31st, Mike Clum releases the documentary The Dark Sad Life of Buggy2988 about fallen from grace gaming YouTuber Buggy2988. In it, we find that a non-insignificant portion of his problems, at least financially, is due to his compulsion to hire escorts and fund sugar babies. So me, in the year of our Lord 2023, sex does sell. Goodbye, subscribe, hit the bell. Or does it? I mean, first off, very unscientific sample size. Sex certainly got monetized in the creator economy and around it, but did it sell? Does sex result in more views, downloads, pre-saves, and yes, sales in its absence? And if so, do creators feel pressure to sexualize online? What are the effects of that on them? In my experience as a creator, producer, and viewer, thus sell, but at great personal cost. I have some evidence, both scholarly and anecdotal, to support that. So in this video, we will first try to get an operating definition of sex, then we will try to honestly answer if sex sells, explore the consequences of sexualizing yourself in and for your content, willingly or not, and finally, I will close out with some recommendations and action items for creators pondering this and other questions. But before we do all that, remember to now like, subscribe, and hit the bell and all that. And without further ado, empecemos. For the purpose of this conversation, sex is not actual coitus. We are talking about representations of sex in media, but not all representations. Corn is excluded from this conversation. And yes, I will be using some algo speak because we live in a free society that polices our very language for the sake of advertiser comfort. Totally free society. Corn, or the audiovisual representation of coitus, be that with plot or not, is not sex, or for that matter, no form of audiovisual sex work is sex. So feet pics or OnlyFans are not part of this conversation, for now. So basically we have sexless sex. Correct. When we usually summon the phrase sex sells, we never mean anything explicit. We usually mean something implicit, the suggestion text. Take the hot tub meta, for example. Some years ago, there was a trend among female streamers on Twitch to don bikinis while streaming from a hot tub or inflatable pool. Not everybody has that jacuzzi money. The metagame here was that the 1-2 punch of beachwear and water would gain easy views on a saturated platform like Twitch. Sold. But it wasn't sex. It wasn't even the promise of sex. It was literally women creators in bathing suits talking while in a very small body of water. How is that sex? It is not. But to some there was an implication of it. Many a raunchy comedy in the 2000s featured suggestive scenes in hot tubs. For many male teens in the West, and it's very free, hot tubs and pool parties and trips to the beach are the first time they see their female peers in what amounts to underwear for the first time. Hot tubs are not inherently sexual, and for that matter, nor are bikinis or underwear, but they might be tied culturally to ideas of sex. They are sex-adjacent, if you will. This is not new in the content sphere. I am a YouTube dinosaur, so I remember when the platform favored click-through rate above all else, and reply girls, female creators who replied to popular videos while wearing pronounced cleavage to engage in clickbait, were the bane of the community back then. This was a cleavage meta, if you will. Cleavage isn't explicitly sexual, it is implicitly so. At least in a culture where breasts have been eroticized by men, by Western patriarchy. Ethnic communities in the Amazon, tribes in Africa, and even the so-called cradle of civilization itself, ancient Greece, don't and did not sexualize breasts to the extent that Western civilization does now. I mean, what is sex if a plunging neckline can be sexualized? Oscar Wilde famously said, "Everything in the world is about sex, except sex is about power." Even when controlling our definition not to be explicit, apparently is everywhere. Anything can suggest explicitness, particularly through the aperture of the male and the Western gaze. But to keep talking, we have to define sex, or at least try to. So sex, or this sexless and at the same time sexed up social media version of sex, is not our definition of sex. Then what is? Maybe it's the aperture itself. the male gaze, or the digi-evolution of it, the digital male gaze. Hot tubs, anime, beach episodes, and cleavage are not sexual. The viewer, the subscriber, the commenter makes it sexual. Prize explicitness out of the most innocuous implicitness. Women used to be able to record videos of themselves barefoot on social media. Now, some have chosen to blur them. Feet are not inherently sexual, but the digital male gaze makes them so. So, this is about power. In her book, Being Female, Dr. Jennifer K. Wesley posits the continuum of sexualization. The concept here being a spectrum of experiences of sexualization as experienced by women and girls. In one end sits the socialized aspect of sexualization, or the typical experience of sexualization. Typical does not mean healthy, it just means mainstream. It's all the embodiment of gender behavior that people who are socialized as female have to go through. On the other side of the spectrum is the severe, outright abuse, sexual exploitation, victimization. In between, everything else. The hot tub, the bikini, cleavage, anime, the catcall, the social media comment. Social media platforms would love nothing more than not to be part of this, but they are a key reason why younger and younger women are thrust onto the continuum. So, the sex sells. Sex, crudely defined here as anything in this part of the continuum, sell on YouTube and social media in general. Why that part specifically? Well, explicit content meant to be sexually gratifying is not allowed on YouTube. Posting pornography may result in content removal or channel termination. Videos containing fetish content will be removed or age restricted. In most cases, violent, graphic, or humiliating fetishes are not allowed on YouTube. Nudity and sexual content policy, YouTube. So no corn, got it. Corn is explicit, but what about sex education? I mean, to teach about sex, you literally have to explain it. Is frankness explicit? I remember the first time I found out about Subbable was in a Sexplanations video. For those of you who don't remember, Subbable was a sort of proto-Patreon where one could, gasp, have direct paid subscriptions to creators. In that video, Dr. Do explained all the work that went into making her sex ed videos and how paid subscriptions could allow her some stability amid a recommendation engine and YouTube policy that did not know what to do with her channel but to flag it constantly. Sex education does not sell. But let's return to the digital male gaze, the buyer in all of this. What does it buy? If we're to believe YouTube ad rates, the male gaze buys financial advice? YouTube, to my knowledge, does not have public documentation on their ad rates, by category or by gender. Also, their platform is auction-based, so prices fluctuate all the time depending on demand. But according to this study by Insider Monkey, the most reputable source that I could find that did not have the words YouTube Guru somewhere in the title, finance is solidly the top earning vertical on the platform in 2023. Money sells, got it. Wait, money and sex? Weren't we supposed to find out if it sells? Isn't it a bit too broad to say only males consume financial advice? I mean, yes and yes, but remember Andrew Tate? His content wasn't only misogyny, it was misogyny packaged as financial independence. What is the Sigma Grindset if not entitlement to sex and hierarchy within white patriarchy, all thinly veiled as a more palatable and capitalism-friendly work ethic and financial advice? Finance bad isn't my point here. There are great people doing great, common sense, actionable, and capitalism-critical financial content. My point is more of a finance co-opted. Misogyny sells, got it. Not again, misogyny isn't sex. So let's get back to the continuum. Let's say a hypothetical female creator that is conventionally attractive, able-bodied, a Harvard MBA, and between the ages of 18 and whatever society deems appropriate, were to launch a YouTube channel. Let's say that she would give financial advice on a hot tub. She would have great views, wouldn't she? Wouldn't she? I'd believe that no matter her credentials, she would face backlash. How about no hot tub then? Great hypothetical views then, right? Exactly, but she's not doing anything sexual. But the categories female, conventionally attractive, able-bodied are doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Because these categories are neutral, they live on the continuum. Okay, pretty privilege sells. Ding 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 ding. Pretty privilege or body privilege was coined by Samantha Kwan to describe how Western norms of beauty, thin, white, Eurocentric for women, muscular, white, and Eurocentric for men, grant privileges to those who embody them, and also non-privilege or even exclusion to those who don't. I'm gonna give a very anecdotal example. If you don't know it, I co-created and was CEO of a fairly large YouTube channel way back when. We did comedy sketches and had a large-ish pool of actors that we worked with. I would be lying to you that part of the calculus in casting those sketches didn't involve the attractiveness of the actors, even when that category wasn't plot relevant. Sometimes we were crude about it, and I am ashamed of that, but most times, the relevance of this during casting was quite matter of fact. At the time of this writing, the top 2 most popular sketches in the channel, both surpassing 100 million views each, are one that is literally about sex and has sex in the title, and the other one's whole comedic conceit is a team of oddball males playing football against a team of conventionally attractive women. The sex sell. Regardless if it does or doesn't, we've been taught it does. Now, what do we do about it? So, in my 20s, I wasn't the most healthy guy to date. I grew up a painfully shy teenager and was just awkward to the bone. One day, I declared what I thought was my love to a friend of mine that I've been pining over for the better part of 2 years. She let me down gently, but I was heartbroken and confused. In my search for answers, I came to Google and literally searched in English, how to be good at women. I was immediately bombarded by pickup artist forums and courses and all the toxic masculinity available in the early 2010s internet. And I dove headfirst into it all. The advice was mid, the rhetoric toxic, and the results were good. I was less anxious in social situations. I was better at approaching women I found interesting and attractive, but I developed problematic drinking and what I could only describe now as a cork in my heart. So I went to therapy to deconstruct my misogyny, made amends with past partners, and even lost friends in the process. But there isn't a day that I'm not thankful I did all that, because it's the key reason why I got to marry who I married. I married the smartest, funniest, most beautiful person I know. My best friend, my partner, my lover. And that all was in small part because I chose to change for good. Also, kids, consider not drinking. All that to say that I try to correct the harm I did whenever I can. Be that being a good partner to my spouse, giving advice to young men, or as was the case last year when I was part of the curation team at VidCon Mexico, make space for women to talk about their issues in their own terms. I created the panel Mi cuerpo no es un objeto, acoso y sexualización en redes. It was a moderator-less panel where a diverse group of female creators could talk to each other and the audience about their struggles and experiences with being sexualized online, all in an unstructured and frank manner. The panel was raw and eye-opening. I regret making it moderatorless, although one of the creators rose up to the occasion and became the de facto moderator of the panel. My colleagues and I also questioned if it re-traumatized them to share those experiences in a public way. If I ever curate an event like that again, I would make some changes. But honestly, I'm proud that I got to be in a position to make such a space possible. I'm thankful to such talented female creators willing to share their experiences, even though it's not their job to educate anyone on the topic. It should be ours. Dr. Wesley developed the continuum for a reason. Sexualization isn't abstract, it's real, and its effects are too. As of this writing, when you search on Google Scholar Billie Eilish baggy clothes, you get 77 results. Billie Eilish's choice of attire was so unexpected in a media landscape where minors, particularly those in the public eye, are sexualized so instantaneously that it merited scholarly research. I remember when Bad Guy first came out, I read a comment in its music video that said somewhere along the lines, "But she's thick though, right?" I found the comment, and it's worse than I remember. Whilst victim attire influenced the perceived responsibility of the victim, the level of responsibility attributed to the victim did not in turn influence the decision to charge. The presence of provocative clothing impacted the perceived responsibility of the victim, but did not influence the perceived responsibility of the alleged perpetrator. Perhaps women are presumed to have more control over their sexual activities. If these views are held by law enforcement personnel, they may serve to excuse the perpetrator and heighten the perceived responsibility of the victim. The influence of victim intoxication in victim attire on police responses to sexual assault. Sexualization isn't abstract. sells, but not because creators choose to sell it, but because social media and the upstream systems that enable its for-profit existence will make creators sell it, particularly those who are female, able-bodied, and conventionally attractive to Western standards. Even if you try to actively not sell it, it will make you. Just ask the streamers who got their likenesses cornified through deepfakes. Patriarchy will in all likelihood have even more of a fascination with you trying to exert sovereignty over your own sexuality. And while it's not up to me whether you can or should sexualize yourself willingly, I can only point you to this fascinating interview of pornographic actor Damon Dice by Mark Leda for his channel Soft White Underbelly. In it, Dice recounts how he chose his line of work. He needed money to keep his startup afloat. Later in the video, he says that one of the most common misconceptions that he finds untrue about the porn industry is that of performers coming from distressed situations. He argues that most of his peers come from good families, are college educated, and most of all, actively sought out to be part of the industry. Art and sex occupy similar positions under capitalism. The commodification of each, while rampant, is also rife with anxiety and subject to questions of ethics, purity, and meaning. This is because we're told art and sex shouldn't be commodified. Both are seemingly sacred forms of human expression, and we are taught to keep them close to ourselves, safe from capital's voracious appetite. And yet, art and sex, and specifically the art and sex industries, are actually capital's stress points. Two industries saturated in hyper-capitalist relations while also existing in the outskirts of the formal economy. Working girl on selling art and selling sex. When it comes to sex work, we have no way of thinking about breach of contract or a really bad day at work as anything other than sexual assault. The limits of bodily autonomy. If Damon Dice would have gotten more funding through grants or VCs for his startup, would he still have become a performer? I wanted to start this channel not only to make myself more available as a mentor for digital creators, and not only to air out my opinions and informed observations, but mostly I am creating this channel to actively help digital creatives with the hard questions no one is talking about. Yes, there are the so-called gurus that will try to give you hacks to achieve overnight success. Yes, there are legitimate resources like vidIQ or Think Media, which are great to stay up to date on platform changes and have good common sense strategies. But what I haven't found is actual actionable advice on the soft skills and existential questions that creators face today. In that regard, I will finish this video with a better question than does sex sell? And that question is, are you okay? Do you feel safe creating, or do you feel demotivated? Do you feel like you have to contort yourself to fit the recommendation engine's requirements? Have you taken a break? Have you talked to a colleague or peer about it? Is someone harassing you? How public are you? Do you show your face in your videos? Have you shown where you live? Do you have two-factor authentication for your accounts? Have you deleted your data from data brokers? Do you have a code word with people who are close to you in case of phone or text impersonation? Have you briefed local authorities or institutions about common forms of harassment such as swatting, stalking, or doxing? Where are you in the continuum of sexualization? Do you feel the need to make yourself look a certain way for your TikToks, videos, or music? Do you feel like you have to behave and present a certain way to your audience? For example, do you hide your relationship status from your audience? Do you know the signs of an abusive situation? If you are in an abusive situation, do you have people or institutions whom you can ask for help and resources to get out of it? But really, are you okay? Are your relationships with your parents, peers, and friends healthy? Do they know about your channel or your account? Do they support you? Are you finding yourself coping in some way? Is that coping related to mind-altering substances, gambling, or self-harm? What is the change you would like to see? Would you like to earn more, have more time, have a healthier relationship with your audience, get rid of bad actors within your community or in your daily life? In what way would you like to feel better about your content? I know a lot of these are action steps disguised as questions, and others are just plain old hard questions that will take time and intention and honesty to answer properly. But please, if you can go through them, I've left a link in the description to a downloadable PDF version of the questionnaire. It is by no means thorough or absolute, but I believe it will allow you to take some action and ponder things about your journey as a digital creator, and I hope you will find it helpful. Take care of yourselves and take care of others. This video was brought to you by me. My name is Martin Dominguez, mentor for digital creators. Being a digital creator is hard. Whether you're starting out or already established, the rules are constantly changing. You don't know how to tell people what you do. The threat of burnout is ever present. And most of all, there is not many people you can talk about any of these issues. It's because of that I became a mentor. I help creators talk about their issues in a zero judgment space, giving them experience-based action steps, advice, and contacts. Help them navigate challenges and map out their goals, from increasing revenue, dealing with harassment, or navigating and preventing burnout. I've dealt with all of it. I love helping creators problem solve and take meaningful, measurable action towards their dreams. I am also a creator. I co-creator and was CEO of Chufe TV, a comedy channel with 27 million subscribers, and producer for film, streaming, and podcasts. I've written for publications like El Nuevo Herald about the creator economy and much more. I've helped all sorts of creators and media companies, from travel bloggers, gaming YouTubers, news outlets, musicians, you name it. If you'd like me to mentor you, you can start by filling out the form for your creator journey on my website, martin-dominguez.com. Your first hour of mentorship is totally free. I would love to be of service. Thank you.